Remember last month when I said there were no issues and everything was on track? I have no bad news. Remember a time where I've ever posted one of these updates on time?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
But in all seriousness, the reason why this one is late is I've been working on some other projects. As kind of a growing channel, I've got the opportunity to work with brands who, actually respond to me. I'm just saying, Vue. However, although slightly late, let's get into update number 31 for the backers of Vue Glasses. So just quickly, from last month we were looking at where they had produced the first 1,000 units of glasses, which had all gone successfully, and they were reaching out to backers to confirm that the shipping address hadn't changed and their prescription needs hadn't changed because they were ready to go. So what exactly happened this month? Because they were ready to go with an estimated shipping date of mid-August. Now mid-September. So let's find out what happened. First of all, previously we discussed the sexy topic of meeting requirements of regulatory certification. So first of all, when we had started to review this project, we had seen that the prototype version had passed initial FCC regulations to show that the glasses didn't produce too much interference that would interfere with other devices, a phone or a pacemaker. Oh, Jesus! However, with the initial 1,000 unit production run of what should be the final product, it's also needed to go through this type of requirement to make sure that nothing had changed. So a final version of the glasses was sent off to the FCC and CE facilities for testing, and the good news is that they passed every milestone, so they can now receive this stamp, which is an important milestone, because without this, a lot of customs agencies actually won't allow them to cross borders without this regulatory certification.
Scanning for Mexicans.
Then there's just a quick update to do with the packaging, just to say that all production of the packaging has run smoothly and they're doing it concurrently with production of the glasses. They basically said they don't need to run this in batches because it's not as complicated as getting components from different manufacturers and putting them all into one place for assembly. They just run the production of packaging, so they need 1,000 more boxes, they produce 1,000 more boxes. And one of the small details they've given us is these little corner protectors which they put inside the packaging, obviously just to protect the glasses from any knocks or falls during delivery, as well as protecting the actual glasses themselves. It's also just to preserve the actual packaging inside so that all of the backers get the best unboxing experience possible. As somebody who will be unboxing these on camera, I appreciate the gesture. And then just a quick update to do with the lenses. Again, no issues in the production with the lenses. I almost feel like they're trying to balance out the update with the things that are going well until we get to this next part. But as I said, no issues with the production of the lenses. The picture here just shows how they are separated by a unique identifier and further segmented by frame choice and lens type. As some people might remember from the original project, a year ago, some of the lens options included tinted brown, purple, black, polarized black, brown, green, transition lenses, and of course prescription lenses. All of which have been coated in a special anti-glare coating, and it's just a quick video here to show how that works. So unfortunately that's all the good out of the way. It's time to move on to the bad and the reason why the project has been further delayed. So as we discussed in these updates before, certain quality control checks are done on different components of the glasses. We've looked at before. There was the hinge test where they would open and close the glasses hundreds of times to make sure that they wouldn't fail during the lifetime. Also there was a static check to make sure that a small static shock wouldn't short out all of the electronics in the glasses. But this time in August it looks like a batch from the first 1,000 units being produced actually failed a fatigue test. So firstly, what is a fatigue test? So a fatigue test takes place to test the durability of the plastic used within the frames of the glasses. So the video here shows a fatigue test which was performed previously, followed by a fatigue test which was performed on a batch from the first 1,000 units. So Vue have said, one of the biggest challenges with Vue has been to make the glasses sufficiently small. Oftentimes, the smaller or thinner the parts, the weaker they are. We've had to carefully design the product with these constraints in mind. It would have been easy to simply double the thickness of the glasses to strengthen the product. But we know backers don't want to wear something that large. Moreover, the entire purpose and vision of Vue is to show that simple, lightweight, smart glasses are possible. We believe this is an important standard to set in the market, which is why we've tried so hard to keep the glasses as thin as possible. Additionally, we aren't able to use materials common in standard eyewear, as it's often too flexible and could pose a risk to the electronics by allowing excessive bending. Instead, we've had to use material which is both rigid enough to hold the electronics, yet flexible enough to conform to the shape of the user's head. This has been an added challenge of the project. So that begs the question, why did this sample fatigue test fail but previous versions passed? Is it something that can be fixed simply by changing the material that they use or the design of the plastic molding? And also, is it something that's going to happen to every unit out of the batch, or is it maybe just the first ones out of the door or the last ones out of the door? For example, we've seen before where they saw issues with cracking in the frames because the factory who were doing the plastic molding had left the raw material for the plastic in the vat too long, and when it's left, it apparently isn't as flexible as it should be. So these were the issues. What have they done to fix it? So Vue have said working with the factories and the suppliers, they've made a small change to the plastic mold, although they haven't said what and haven't showed any pictures. As we saw from the previous paragraphs, one of the things they're adamant about is not increasing the thickness. Hopefully that's not what they've changed. And as well as that, they've tested 2 new materials which are more flexible and less prone to fail this fatigue test. So from those 2 materials, they've selected one, and based on the graph that you've got here, you can see the red line was the previous material they were using, and that downwards red line is essentially where the test failed, compared to the green line, which is a new material which shows that it passes the fatigue test. So what Vue have said now is, although this fatigue test only failed for a single batch within the 1,000 unit production, they're not able to predict if this is going to happen again or when it's going to happen again. So they've had to replace the entire 1,000 unit production run. So understandably, this is annoying. Again, it's a further delay in a project which has already been delayed by a year. But they've said this new material is now better quality, it's 3 times as expensive, and also in the long run is going to produce a higher quality product, which in the end is kind of what we all want. So last month, procurement of this new plastic material begun. They're continuing these fatigue tests now just to make sure that everything runs smoothly. Here's an example of another one they're running, and I just can't stop looking at it. It's very hypnotic. And then by this point, the new run of injection molding should have started and the assembly process begins again. So with that being said, let's get to everyone's favorite part, the timelines. After wrapping up a few more fatigue tests, we'll begin injection molding. It will only take 1 to 2 days to produce the first 1,000 units with the molds, after which they'll go straight to the assembly factory where the full assembly process will begin. This means we've missed our late August target date for the first batch, shifting our timeline into September. We know each new issue is frustrating, but problems like these are essential to solve so that your frames don't crack during normal use. We also wanted to clarify that our batch shipping will not just be 1,000 per month. Each subsequent batch will be larger. The goal is for batches to increase to a point where shipping will be completed in about 2 months. So in saying that, it seems that some of the Kickstarter backers maybe got confused and thought they were only producing 1,000 units at a time. We've discussed previously, the first run will be 1,000 to ensure there's no issues in it, like they've done now, found the issue, and now only have to correct it in 1,000 units, whereas if they'd gone straight into mass production of 100,000 units, that's a lot more waste, a lot more expense, and a lot more time. So last thing is they're no longer accepting any changes in frame style, color, or lens type. However, because of the further delay, they are still accepting updates to prescriptions, which as always, you can get into them by emailing support@enjoyvue.com. So that's it for the update this month. As I said, I was late in producing this, so we are due another update in just a few short weeks. Maybe I'll get that one out on time.
Don't lie to me! Don't lie to me!
We'll see. So until next time, if you enjoyed the video, a like rating would be appreciated. If you haven't already, remember to subscribe to the channel. And as always, I shall see you in the next one.